Big Andy in Dingwall said you get Paul Heaton to host a regular cycling proficiency spot on the show, because he's a friend of this show and a keen cyclist. Have you ever been? You've been a biker. Have you ever been a cyclist?
I am a cyclist. Yes, I enjoy it very much actually, because everything looks different when you cycle. You do it at a different pace. It's nice. Right. I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah. Do you mean it looks different from walking or from motorbiking?
From driving.
Oh, from driving, yeah.
Because I mean, you drive so much, as I do, all around everywhere. You don't see anything. You're always concentrating, aren't you? I can't let the missus drive.
You're a bad passenger, are you?
Terrible, and she goes mental at me.
Right, yeah.
Turn here, you're going too slow, too fast.
Right.
So she says, you do it.
Right.
I just don't get to see anywhere, so when I go on my bike, it's at a much nicer pace.
Right, okay. But we've got a lot of listeners who are falling off bikes, so perhaps they're all looking, and you're not looking where they should be going.
You've got to be careful, haven't you?
That's how Henry's got one arm out of action, you see.
I had one accident on my bike, and that was from another biker. Right. Who came round the corner, blind, banged into my arm really heavily. I mean, I was going around the same corner, but I was doing it, what you'd say normally.
Right.
Thinking, it might be somebody around the bang. There was another biker. It really took me out. That's my only one, luckily.
Peter Hook is with us talking about unknown pleasures inside Joy Division, which we think, we're not just discussing this book, it's that way, but it should technically out today, isn't it, we think?
Yes, it is, yes.
Although you might have seen a copy in your local bookstore for a few days. But as it says, unknown pleasures inside Joy Division. Was it doing the Hacienda book that suddenly got the creative juices going?
Yes, I knew that once I'd pulled off the Hacienda book and people bought it, you've then got obviously think you've got the ability to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I'm quite in quite esteemed company with you two, though, aren't I? You've done a few books between you.
We've done one or two.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see what you two say.
So was it just... Once you've seen your name on that spine and you think it's a doable thing, then it's not like a fantasy. I can do it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm lucky. I've got 3 fantastic stories, 4, maybe 5, to write about. You see, and it was quite interesting when I came to do the book, because my friend inspired me when I was doing the sleeve notes for the Hacienda first Hacienda compilation CD. When I came to do the book, they said, do one book with everything in it, and I just went, no, I can't do that. I couldn't. You wouldn't do any of them justice.
No.
Right.
So I wanted to do it separately, so it made it more difficult. It made it very difficult for me to get a deal for the Hacienda one alone, because that was the first one, because people didn't think it had an appeal.
Right, okay.
But saying that, it's been translated into Japanese and French and effing English.
Right.
When you say you had 3 or 4 of us, so we're talking what? Hacienda, New Order, Joy Division?
Yeah, I mean, as I've said, I wasn't going to do a New Order one because... just because.
Right.
But because of what happened...
Right.
It doesn't bother me so much now.
Right, yeah, right. So that are you working on that?
Back here with you two, so it's all your fault, wasn't it?
Was it our fault?
Yeah, of course it was.
Was it our fault?
Yeah, I got a cryptic message to listen in to you two, and I listened in, and then I heard that New Order had reformed without me.
Oh, was it? Right.
Yeah,
I think
it's really weird.
Yes, I'm sure.
I mean, normally I listen to you all the time.
Of course.
I'm sure that was weird. How it became our fault. I'm slightly more mystified.
Don't shoot the messenger.
It's odd. I mean, you and I have had a conversation about this book because we share a publisher, and we did a podcast, didn't we? So but as I said to you at the time, I mean, there are things about you, having known you for many, many years, that I didn't know.
Me too.
I never knew you lived in Jamaica as a kid.
Me neither. That was a shock. That was a shock. Yeah.
Well, I suppose I went with my father, who used to fix glass blowing machines.
Yeah.
Which was obviously in great demand right around the world, and he was used to working abroad.
Yeah.
He was my stepfather, and he'd worked abroad all his life, so it was quite normal for him. Obviously, it wasn't normal for us, but I mean, Jamaica was a wonderful place as a kid. To go from 6, 9 or half 9, 6. That period was fantastic. To play in Jamaica was great. And to be honest with you, the lifestyle we had over there was unbelievable. We had servants and everything. It was incredible, And then to be dragged back to Odsal, like you lot, yeah, to be put back here was a little bit of a shock, really, culture shock. Yeah. But it was nice to be home. I have to say, Jamaica was a great dalliance and a wonderful education.
It must have been very, very different from Yeah, you know, as you said, because when you said that when you saw Control, it didn't occur to you that it was in black and white.
No, it
because
didn't.
your childhood memories of Salford are black and white, basically.
Correct, yes.
Because
And
it was
when I got to Jamaica, it was definitely in colour, as I said in the book. And when I got back here, it was sort of in between the two.
Yeah.
But it was nice to come home. It was wonderful in Jamaica, but my mum and dad didn't have a great time there.
Yeah.
My mum specifically, and it was nice to get back. And I mean, the thing is that I'm English. I'm from Salford, and I'm very lucky in that I get to travel everywhere. But I love coming back.
Yeah,
you know, and driving round. I mean, it was quite funny having the young lady Helen from showing me round. She's bringing me, and I'm going, "You don't bring me anywhere. I know this place like the back of my hand." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's home. And it's important to me.
You were talking about the photo on the front, which is great. Which is a semi-demolished Salford terraced house with Joy Division painted, on the wall. I mean, there's a lot of good pictures, but a lot of kind of souvenirs like ticket stubs and receipts for like basses and kind of amps and vans and things. So are you a bit of a squirrel? Are you a bit of a hoarder of this stuff, or are people giving you stuff?
Bass players turn out to be hoarders.
That's going to
strange.
Bill Wyman, the archivist,
the Stones archivist. Yeah.
And I don't think I'm on my own. I mean, the thing about it is that I collected everything and kept most things, like your Sex Pistols ticket, and people love to see it. When I did the Unknown Pleasure speaking tour with Howard Marks, I exhibited a lot of my stuff on stage and let people come up and have a look around it while we were doing
You had a
the
little
talk.
exhibition of stuff round in the old factory building, round from the old BBC.
We did that when we played the Unknown Pleasures night when we celebrated that. Yeah, I mean, people love it, and I love it. You know, and I just as much adore it if it be about Kiss or the Smiths or anything. Yeah. So it's nice. Yeah. It's nice to do.
But to have kept so much stuff from the very early days, you must, it's tempting to think that you were keeping it with one eye on posterity, thinking one day this will be a significant bit of rock memorabilia.
No, I was proud of it. Yeah. And when somebody gave me something like, I've got the Buzzcocks. The tour schedule for the Buzzcocks
I was just
tour.
looking at that. And
I've still got it.
And it's got Joy Division and Jon Peter on it, that you've been issued with your copy of it,
I was so proud of it when we got it. I was like, wow, look at this. I took it home, showed me mum, things like that, and kept it, just filed it away. So, I do keep everything.
The other thing,
so much from New Order.
It's kind of a document of a kind of, of you and the music and the band and everything. But it's also like a kind of an England that's kind of passed in black and white in these pictures. Like, I'm particularly as well thinking of Rob Gretton, your esteemed manager, managing the band from a phone box.
Yes, which he did, and very capably. I think it was quite funny how he used to go and sit in there for hours, and people would be banging on the door trying to get him, going, "Good host, William, just on a call to America," or something like that. It was a fascinating period because nowadays we take so much for granted.
Yeah.
And especially in media and communication and things like that. I mean, the thing that used to amaze me was that the only time our music ever really existed in the early days was when the four of us were together and we played it.
Yeah.
And that was fantastic because we couldn't afford a cassette player or anything. There was just no technology, no money to get anything like that, like cameras. There's very few pictures of Joy Division because none of us could afford a camera.
No, that's right. Well,
it's absolutely bizarre.
It's exactly the same for me. We've talked about this. Like, for me, like in my university times, around that sort of period, the late 70s, there's no photos because who could afford it and who wanted to take a camera out with them?
It's nice though because it's a bit more romantic. Yeah. I mean, like the Sex Pistols at Leicester Free Trade Hall.
There is a photo of that. Steve Jones was on this show last week.
There is a photo of that. But just to go back to Rob for a second, because that bit in the book is really fascinating when you talk about. I think it's Barney being stopped in the street by Rob, who says, I won't say the exact phrase, "Flipping heck, you're in Joy Division, aren't you?" Yeah. Immediately says, "I want to be a manager," and then immediately starts to say, "You need to change this, you need to do this, you need to do the single again, you need to do this." And you get the feeling that you speak very warmly at that moment, saying this is the moment, this was a real turning point for Joy Division. Was that the big turning point, Rob coming along?
Yes, because Rob had a vision much bigger and much more sensible than ours. Right. And it was hard to sort of listen to at first, because he'd talk about things that he was going to do for you that we'd been hoping for years, and it was a shock. Wow, could you do that?
Yeah.
And he was like, wow, this guy is like a whirlwind. He came in like a Tasmanian devil.
Yeah.
Really shook everything up. And he was a very, very strong, uncompromising character. And he was very, very individual and very, very unique in what he did. Very few managers aren't like that these days. It seems to be a bit more corporate. The old real characters don't seem to exist anymore. You got Paul McGuinness. They all seem old managers. You don't really hear of any new managers being as as wild as these old guys.
It was like McLaren, wasn't it? You know, it's kind of going for...
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely at the time.
Yeah.
And Rob was amazing because his attitude to everybody was exactly the same. Whether you were the head of Warner Brothers Records, whether you were Michael Jackson, whether you were the kids selling the bootleg T-shirts outside the gig, he treated everybody exactly the same. It was a wonderful gift that Rob had. Right. You either took him as he was or forget it.
Yeah.
There was no... I remember we went over when we signed to Warner Brothers Records, and Mo Austin, who was the big head honcho of Warner Brothers, was at this party to welcome us. All the staff came and welcomed us. We were so embarrassed. We didn't know what to do. And Mo Austin was talking to me, and he said, "Oh, you're Peter, you're the bass player." And I said, "Yes." He said, "Where's your manager, Peter?" And I went, well, I've looked round, and Rob was slumped in a chair in the corner with a big spliff. And I went, "He's there." And Mo went, "That's your manager?" And I thought, wow, God, if you knew him, you wouldn't say that.
Right.
The guy was
but it's interesting how you said how it's changed, because once upon a time you could probably almost like a pub quiz round have said, right, The Who, Kit Lambert, you know, the Beatles, Brian Epstein, Joy Division, Rob Gray, and you could have named like he was a member of the band, the manager. You'd be able to do that.
I suppose, wouldn't you?
Well, they're managed by companies.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, I mean, Joy Division, Factory Records. I don't have to tell you a lot about it. It was a very, very unique happening, and people still look at it. I mean, I was watching Tim Burgess on Sunday Brunch on Sunday, and he was talking about Factory, saying how unique your attitude was, and of course the lads were taking the mickey, saying you never made any money though with that attitude. But the thing is, you left something. You left them. Wonderful heritage.
It's a wonderful heritage and a wonderful moment. But again, things that I hadn't realised really. I'd always assumed that kind of, you know, Joy Division and Factory, marriage made in heaven. It was always going to be that way. In page 143, you want to sign to Genetic because they're offering you 70 grand. Well, so it might not have happened.
Yeah, it might not have happened. But the thing was, is that 70 grand, you may as well have said 10 billion.
Yeah.
Because it just meant nothing to us because it was so much because we had nothing.
Yeah.
It was just ridiculous. Why would anybody want to give us that? You know, you had a real chip on your shoulder. And the thing was, is that when you met Tony, to talk to Tony, he felt the kinship you felt with him and his love of Manchester and keeping everything Manchester-centric was what you wanted to do. You didn't want to go to Genetic. You didn't want to go to London. You were happy here.
I think Tony had an effect on not only everybody in the bands, you know, but everybody who's kind of working in like radio and music in the north at that time. Let's have Transmission, and then we'll talk more to Peter Hook about Unknown Pleasures. Transmission, Joy Division. Peter Hook is here talking about his book Unknown Pleasures inside Joy Division, and it is inside Joy Division. Of course, you know, I mean, the character of Ian, despite all the coverage and despite the films and everything, you know, it remains an enigma. Possibly because people want him to remain an enigma. But this is a very personal portrait, and you say like photos don't exist. The wedding photo, I particularly like. There's a photo of Ian and his best man Kelvin. They're larking about in suits and poses that are as far away from Joy Division. But that's what comes. He was your mate. He was a normal bloke.
He was very, very normal, down to earth guy. Yeah, and in many ways, Barney and I really corrupted him because he was actually quite nice.
Of course, because
we met him and we turned him into a dirty bass swilling bugger.
You said about how he was a married man. Then the other thing that was interesting is that in the very early period, you were writing lyrics.
Yeah,
and on several occasions. Ian sang them, and it became quite clear to you when Ian was writing the lyrics that he should write the lyrics.
Oh God, yeah.
But you said he was gracious enough to just say, "Yeah, I'll sing these lyrics."
He was very, very generous, and it's quite a rare quality. And he was very selfless and very open about anything like that. And I suppose that's one of the nice things about Joy Division, because it existed for such a short time.
Yeah.
2.5 years. We were only professional for 6 months. Right. It's called professional, £9 a week.
Yeah.
that was your wage, was it?
No, that was how much we put in. While we were professional per week. It wasn't sullied or spoilt by any daft arguments about publishing or money, really. You know, it was very much all together, all going the right way, which was the nicest way to be. But he was. And I remember he used to get so annoyed when anybody said Ian Curtis and Joy Division. He was livid.
Right.
And he would go absolutely spare. He said, it's not Ian Curtis and Joy Division, it's Joy Division.
Yeah.
You know, he was very, very much a man of the group.
Right,
yeah, and it was nice because it really, things like that, when you do go through your periods of being insecure, are very, very important to you, you know, to be valued by the people in the group. And it seems quite odd that you'd have to think about that. But, you know, there are occasions when you don't get support from members of the group, and it hurts, and that was always nice.
Talking about the members of the group,